Hi guys, it's Kayla from Lone Pine Koala Sanctuary. Back to talk more about how animals in the wild are facing a number of threats that are causing them to become endangered, and also looking at ways that we can all make little small changes in our daily lives to help counteract this and become guardians for these endangered species. So one of the major threats that animals are facing, not just in Australia, but all over the world, is the loss of their habitat. Once an animal loses its habitat, that means that it obviously has nowhere to live, nowhere to get food, and it's very hard for an animal to cope with habitat loss. Some animals are able to adjust to an urban environment. Urban means a built up, like a city or a neighborhood. That's what we call urbanization. And some animals do better than others, but overall, most animals do struggle with urbanization and habitat loss. So habitat loss can occur for a number of different reasons. Just recently in Australia, at the beginning of the year, we had a horrible bushfire season, and a lot of habitat was destroyed in those fires. Now, we have been leading up to those fires experiencing really hot, dry temperatures. So as our climate is changing, we're seeing more frequent bushfires, and this isn't just in Australia, it's happening in lots of places around the world. And once a bushfire has swept through an area, if the animals in that area happen to survive that fire, unfortunately there's nowhere for them to go back to because their home is now gone. So bushfires are a big factor to habitat loss. But in addition, there's also a lot of land clearing that takes place. So the chopping down of trees. And this can happen for a number of reasons. So there's multiple reasons that a forest or a habitat might be cleared. We cut down trees to make paper products, so things like paper for our printers, paper towels, toilet paper. All of those paper products had originally come from trees. Another reason that land can be cleared is for farming or agriculture, so to clear land so that we can grow food or have livestock like cattle and sheep, but also to build our homes. So our population around the world, the number of people, is on the rise, it's going up, and these people do need places to live. So in some areas, like in cities where people live in apartments, the urbanization is going up, but in many areas the spread of where people live is going out, and we're building new housing developments, and those can spread into areas where wildlife used to live. So housing developments and just our increased population and clearing land for places to live. Now, with this increasing urbanization, the spread of our population, our cities, out into what used to be wildlife habitats, that does come with a lot of other problems as well, because with our housing developments and with our population growing, we also need to build things like roads to connect up these areas. So that introduces cars and roads that animals might have to cross to get from one tree that was in their habitat to another tree. They're maybe used to going and walking along the ground, not used to there being a road with cars in that area. And then of course we also have our pets. Now, we did talk a little bit about pets like cats and dogs in our introduced species episode, but pets can be problematic for wildlife if they aren't looked after responsibly. They can go out and hunt and catch wild animals. So maybe a koala in a backyard is used to going from one tree to another, and they go down to the ground and there happens to be a dog there. They might not be used to seeing a dog there, and the dog would probably not be used to seeing a koala, and unfortunately dog attacks are a big issue for koalas. And not just koalas, lots of native animals. So habitat loss is massive. They reckon that in the Brisbane region, the greater Brisbane area where lone pine is, there's been around 80–85% of potential koala habitat that's been developed, been cleared for development. And it's not unique to here, it's happening all over. So we talked about the reasons. We talked about bushfires being one consideration. You might call them forest fires depending on where you live. We talked also about land clearing. And land clearing for different reasons. So to build homes, there's my little house that I've built, to build paper products. Let's see if I can make a little roll of toilet paper here. And then also for things like farming. So let's see, I'll draw a little corn. That's a corn. It's not very good, sorry. And then the issues that come around with clearing land and developing it for houses, things like roads and pets that can be introduced as well. So how to become a guardian, how to look after animals that are losing their habitat, or maybe have lost some of their habitat, or maybe you live in an area that has bushland around it or has a forest nearby. How can we look after the animals that live in those areas? So one thing we did talk about with our pets is keeping them maybe inside, or keeping them in an area where they can't go out and hurt wildlife. So we'll talk again about being a responsible pet owner. So that's one way. What about our paper products? So the things that we buy for around the house, like maybe we use paper towels or paper for our printers or toilet paper. I'm not going to say to stop using those things, because that's maybe a big step, but you can buy paper products that are made from recycled paper. So there's a little logo that you can look at, a little recycling symbol, and the letters FSC, and that means that those paper products were used by recycling other paper products. So instead of having to cut down new trees, when you put paper things into the recycling bin, those can be made into new paper products. So we can buy recycled paper products. And this is really easy. Next time you're at the shops, just have a look at the different options for toilet paper and have a look for the one that has that little recycling symbol on it. That look a little bit better. There we go. And then of course recycling as well, not just buying things that are made from recycled product, but making sure that you recycle, because that's how we close this loop. We have to take every single step, okay? And then another way is if you do have a garden or a bit of a backyard, or even if you get involved in your community with ways to go out and plant trees and plant native plants, so we can actually give back. And even our parks near our houses are really important habitats for animals. And we can plant things like eucalyptus trees to give back to the koalas, and native flowering plants to encourage birds to come and live in our urban areas. So there's ways that we can live a bit more in harmony with the animals that live around us by making sure that we are preserving habitat whenever possible, and then even giving back by planting more trees and plants. So, plant trees and flowers. So there's there's lots of organizations that will get together from time to time and go out and do a tree planting, and maybe go and clean up a creek or go and clean up the beach and go pick up rubbish, and just making sure that you're looking after the habitat in your area around where you live. So hopefully these are some easy little things that you can do in your day-to-day life. In just a minute, we're going to meet an awesome animal that unfortunately has had to deal with a lot of habitat loss, and we're going to talk about how we can help with that. Alright, so here we are with the lovely head of our raptor section here at Lone Pine. This is Tess, and Tess has brought along one of the raptors she gets to work with. This is Elmo. Now, Elmo is a species that has been directly impacted by habitat loss. So we have been talking about different ways that animals can become threatened or endangered in the wild, and the impacts that habitat loss can have. So Tess, can you tell us a little bit about why barking owls in particular have been impacted by habitat loss?
Well, there are some species that can be quite adaptable and will lay their eggs in a man-made nest box or something that you can put up, particularly something like a barn owl. These guys, they're quite fussy. They need a old growth tree with a big hollow to lay their eggs in. Yeah. And of course with deforestation, less of these trees are available and there's lots of competition for them.
Yeah, and we talked about some of the reasons that deforestation takes place. Land clearing for agriculture, to build homes, to make paper products. And I know that tree hollows can take a really long time to form in an old tree, like even 100 to hundreds of years.
Definitely.
And it doesn't take long at all to chop a tree down. So, are there many barking owls left around Brisbane?
Not particularly in this area. They do a little bit better up north of Queensland, where there are still those big old growth trees, but not very many in this area at all.
Oh, okay. So what is something that we can do in our daily lives to help save trees and help cut down on the number of trees that are getting cleared?
Well, it's actually quite easy. There are a few things that we can do. Basically, anything that you use that is a paper or wood product, look for options that will be helping out the environment. So when you're buying a paper towel, your office paper, or even your toilet paper, just look for the recycled symbol and you'll know that less trees will be cut down with that product.
We actually talked all about that already, so
really?
that's really good to know that those choices can help animals just like the barking owl. She's very, very cool. Look at those big yellow eyes. Oh, and a little bit of a head scratch. Oh, and a scary crow just flew overhead. That's pretty scary. All right, thanks guys. Thank you for watching and